Thank you all for coming to this first Justice Forum of the Spring Semester 2024. I'm Lenny Perugia. I run this joint. Before we start, I just want to say the heartfelt and requisite thank yous. First of all, to the amazing group of women who actually come together to put this thing together. Eileen Lully, who first said, when I went to her and said, can we do Justice Forum, again, will be different? She said, sure. So Eileen could let us do this. Sylvia was right there, who runs tech. And Lindsay Schramm, who's not here, but who does almost everything. And where is somewhere here is Vivian, who helps us. And Clarence Coxham, actually, who takes care of all your honoraria. Okay, so this we also have Helga Davis with us, who will do the along with Alkinos Leonidis, will do the last Justice Forum of the semester in April, on April 3rd. So please put this down in your calendars also. This is a panel that came together as an idea when Mia and I and Bernard and Fonda were all together at the Leros Humanism Seminars in the summer. And Mia and Marisa, who is not here at this table, but I think she's somewhere in the ether, Marisa Gutierrez Ucario presented what they both do in terms of arts in confined spaces or arts in spaces of confinement. So that was the first idea, the first time that we actually talked about presenting something like this here. And Mia, of course, who is the soul of this thing, put it together. So all I'm going to do is I am really going to do just the introductions and sit down, shut up and sit down. Ivan will be the moderator for this panel, but let me give you the short of the speed of this. So it's called Art as a Practice of Freedom, right? And there's Eileen Gilly, previously mentioned. So it's Mia, Ruyter, and Kristina Bivona in conversation with Amaury, Bonilla, and Bonilla, and Shedrick Blackwell, moderated by Calaff. You have read the description, so I'm not going to do that, but I will read their short bios. Mia Ruyter is an artist and educator at the educational programming coordinator for the Just Education Initiative at Rikers Island. She's studying for her doctorate in art education at Binova University. She speaks little and writes even less about herself, but she will run this. Really, you will see. And Mia brought Kristina Bivona to us, and we're very happy that she did. Kristina is an artist and scholar living in Philadelphia. She's been practicing art and radical politics for over 20 years. She works in Brooklyn, New York, where she co-established a print shop for prison diversion, which is called with Recess Assembly. And her personal printmaking practice takes the form of artist art books about sex work and incarceration. Kristina is studying for her doctorate in education at TC, right, Columbia. And Amaury and Shedrick and Ivan. Yeah, Ivan and Shedrick were at some point my students at Sing Sing. Amaury would come by the window and he would just try to distract everyone, keep outside. So Shedrick Blackwell is a board member.
I'm on the board.
Thank you.
Carnegie.
No, we're so happy that you're so happy that you're here. He's a board member of the Carnegie Hall Musical Connections Advisory Committee. He's a Harlem native, attorney, citizen, and rehabilitation through the arts alumnus. He received his associates in liberal arts through the Bard Prison Initiative in 2023. He's an accomplished percussionist, an actor engaged in the project of prison abolition, and he didn't say this here, but he's also a poet, and we have published one of his poems in the in Synopsis in 2020. Amaury Bonilla is re-entry counselor at Exodus Transitional Community. Exodus is, of course, an organization that we collaborate at JA, and a program. Returning citizen and rehabilitation through the arts alumnus also. The Bronx-born and raised Bonilla came to the arts as a painter and an actor during his long years of incarceration. More recently, he has been expanding his arts to include poetry, music, and storytelling. And he is the very proud father of a daughter. And Ivan Calaff, whose name appears as Carlos Ivan Calaff, but is really Ivan Calaff, is a research analyst and re-entry coordinator at the Center for Justice. And with the two of us, run the committee for the admissions committee for the Justice and Education program. In 2018, he was released from Sing Sing Correctional Facility in Austin. He's currently studying at the School for Professional Studies at Columbia. He's a proud Puerto Rican, father of two boys, a lifelong Bronx native, and an apologetic Knicks fan, and a musician. The floor is totally yours. Or the same.
Yeah, guys. First, I want to start by saying thank you to everyone for coming down. It's kind of cold, it's not the best weather, and it always surprises me how this room gets filled up. It just goes to prove that many are doing a fantastic job with these justice forums. People want these things, they want to be here, they want to learn, they want to listen. So I just want to say thank you to you guys. So if we can give yourself a round of applause. So I'm going to set it off. Anybody can answer, but I would like Kristina to start. That'd be nice. Can you tell us about an early art experience that is memorable for you, and where did this interest come from?
I was thinking about this today on the drive down without even recalling the questions that we would walk through today, because I think it comes up just in the fabric of everyday life. It appears as a different memory almost every time, but I recall perhaps at the beginning of an era of trauma in my life, laying in bed as a teenager with my friend Saida, who was active with pencil drawing at the time, and her bedroom was covered with these well-detailed portraits of her own eyes. And I lay there and looked at them and I thought to myself, like, she's the artist in her. She's the one that draws. She's the one who's going to take that to a place. And over the years, she's still an artist, still draws, but she's a poet now, an accomplished poet. And I picked up making art. And one of the things that I think caused that was the need to process things that I couldn't put into words. And to this day, that is still a space that art occupies as a linguistic tool that does not necessarily need to rely on checks.
I just want to give a little context. So the theme of today is it's talking about art as an expression of freedom. So most of the folks on this panel, except for me, have had some carceral experience. And the art experience didn't begin inside prison for many people. For some it did. Some folks were artists already before they experienced incarceration. So I just want to give a little context. Nia, please, let's move on again.
So I'm going to talk about the time when I think I was in fourth grade, and we had just moved, so it was summer, and I didn't know anybody in the neighborhood. I think I spent the whole summer sitting at my desk drawing and listening to the radio, and that's when I learned that the radio plays the same 20 songs over. So I wouldn't say it was a traumatic experience, but it was a difficult time, and it was a time when drawing was a way to find some comfort and peace.
Mr. Shedrick, Mr. Blackwell.
So let me start by saying I am a native of Spanish Harlem, the barrio. That's where I'm from. Harlem Projects. Which was just a few blocks from Central Park on 106th Street. And my experience with art, music specifically, used to take place every Sunday. At about 10 o'clock in the morning, every Sunday, you could hear it rumble, start to rumble. This sound of these old Spanish guys just slapping these congas. And I'm telling you, it was like it's hypnotic. And it used to leak through my window and literally just snatch me by the nostrils and lift me off my feet practically. And I would never, early on, I would never go into the park. I would stop on the corner of 106th Street and Madison Avenue, which let me look into the park, and I could hear it and I could see it. And then one day I took the leap and I went in. And I think I stood there in front of these guys, and people would just come on. You could come with anything. You had a drum, you come with a drum, you had a guitar, you come with a guitar. And it would just build and build. It was like an orchestra. And I stood there one day, and about 2 hours, I was so young, I was about 12, so it felt like the whole day. It was about 2 hours. And just so caught up in this thing. I don't even know what it was. I don't have the words today to even describe it. And that experience that was the interest. I wanted to know how somebody could use their hands and slap this thing and make this sound happen like that perfectly. And I've been hooked ever since. And I can't get it out of my mind. Whenever I'm stuck in music, I go back to that.
And it's crazy because I remember as a kid growing up, I grew up in the South Bronx, and you couldn't walk by a bodega without hearing bing dong, some type of Latin music playing. Yeah. And that was the you needed that. If that was missing, then something was wrong. That was definitely part of every memory I had growing up as a kid. Yeah.
It wasn't happening, something was wrong.
Something was wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Amaury, Mr. Bonilla, please. Okay.
So I came from parents that were migrants from the Dominican Republic. They came here to the States at a young age. I grew up in the Bronx, and my experience with art was with my father. He loved art. Excuse me, I get emotional. And he would always, like on the weekends, buy a little 6-pack, and we'll sit down, right? And just draw, right? I'm talking about from a very young little kid, right? 6th grade night drawing and stuff like that. And, I was always marveled by, his ability to create, because he was also a welder also, when he would create these beautiful structures, right? And I really like value his work. With him, it was just something that would just come out of him, right? And you know, he allowed me to express myself through art, right? And although I grew up in a household where certain questions couldn't be asked, right? You do what I say and that's it, right? And but one of the most important, like the highlights of, you know, me coming up and experiencing this with my dad was the day I walked in the room and there was no pencil. There was a pen on the pad. And I looked at him and I was like, where's the pencil? I said, well, you need a pencil. He said, because I don't want to make mistakes. And he said, who told you that you can create something out of mistakes? And that was like so powerful to me that even to this very day, you know, it still like resonates in me. You know what I mean? And that was my experience.
I'm old enough, but I'm gonna age myself a little bit here. That I got to witness hip hop coming out the womb. I saw it coming out the womb, and it was incredible. But we didn't know. No one had any idea that hip hop was going to be such a huge phenomenon. And it wasn't just the music. It was the way people dressed. It was the dancing. It was the graffiti. And I was more fascinated with the graffiti, the artwork, than I was the music at the time. The music was relatively new, but these graffiti artists were doing amazing things with spray cans and magic markers that they fashioned themselves. They would take an eraser, break the eraser in half, put it in this thing, fill it up with ink, and draw these masterpieces that just blew me away when I was a kid. I couldn't draw to save my life. I can draw a little bit now, thankfully, because the art programs that I participated in. And I was just so fascinated. And so I hung out with all the graffiti artists, or as many graffiti artists as I could. And I remember Shedrick made mention this, the jams in the park. So when hip hop first came out, the DJs would come and they would look for a place to plug in their equipment, and they use these long extension cords, plug in through somebody's window to somebody's apartment, and play all night in the park. And I'd be 70 years old, and I'd be looking out the window a long way, like, holy shit, I love this, like I need this. And it was just fascinating. I mean, I was captivated with the entire art form, with that entire expression, and it's sort of informed my life ever since. And yeah, I'll drop the mic there, guys, because I can reminisce all day about that. I was curious, how important, so because the thing today is about carceral, about freedom, and about art, how important is art in your carceral experience? And anyone can start.
I'd happily start because it's going to be short. You know, I was in jail several times. I sat for 2 years more than once, and it's a terrible experience. There's no surprise. I spent the entire time with maybe one small, tiny felt point marker. The only paperwork you have is the paperwork you're supposed to hold on to for your sentencing, your court dates. You know, and if you don't have somebody on the outside to put money on your books, it's going to stay that way. So my only avenue was to take my drawing skills and my time in the underground, and you know, have my tattoos are stick and poke and start doing stick and poke tattoos. But also being well aware of I cleaned up after Katrina, and all of myself and friends, we all got MRSA. We didn't even know it was MRSA back then. We thought it was just staph bacteria, but it was killing us. It was putting us in the hospitals on IV antibiotics and, you know, kidneys shutting down, etc. So in those settings, in the prison system, in the jail system, actually, cleanliness was so important, and it was really hard to come by every service. And, you know, just remembering that mauve ink living around those beige and terrible puce colors, bringing back memories of tattooing, come down to how gentle you can be, how often you can get someone to come back and visit you so they can heal properly, and just trying to scramble for supplies. Who's going to the med, you know, for anytime soon, and can you grab some ink? Can you ask one of the nurses? Can you go up there and ask if you can clip your toenails, so you have to ask permission to clip your toenails.
No.
And that's monitored the whole time. It's very humbling experience. But if you are kind and gentle and patient with the folks that work in those settings, you can ask for one heck of a date. But tattooing allowed me to get through. I also had one commissary for that. And I put on a lot of wedding rings, and a lot of name tags. I wonder how many live there.
Mia, because your cultural experience, your experience with the system is a lot different. How important is art for the students that participate in your program? And how engaged are they in the program?
Well, the students are very engaged. There's like one housing unit, like the minute we walk in the door, it's like we've walked into a room with a cart full of food into a room full of starving people. They're like, where? Let me touch it, let me have it. And it's amazing.
And where do you teach? I'm sorry, just so.
At Rikers.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very rewarding for us to be able to provide it, and it's really a lot about the supplies that we bring. And we try and bring as good quality supplies as we can manage. We worked with this really wonderful art therapist who made a big impression on us about how important it is to bring high quality materials and to present them in a way, and her name is Laura Bettencourt, let me put that up. And to present the materials in a way that is enticing. And because it just makes sense, but it's hard to make a really satisfying piece of art with a golf pencil and a piece of copy paper. Much harder than if you have a nice like graphite pencil and a piece of watercolor paper.
Yeah.
So we always try and bring really good supplies, and the women really, it's very gratifying for us to be able to provide them with that.
I'm just curious, how much resistance or how much help do you get from the administration?
There are people who are very supportive of us doing this work.
Okay, got you. Some people, I suppose, some people. Mr. Blackwell.
For me, art, particularly music, was crucial. Not just for entertainment. In fact, a lot less entertainment and more survival and fitness. Having served 2 decades in prison, we're talking about attrition. It takes more than just what they're serving in the mess hall and a few walks around the prison yard. You need something. And music was my tool. That was my vehicle. That gave me the bandwidth and helped me build that muscle and I'm talking about small period, getting from Tuesday to Wednesday. And from Wednesday to Wednesday evening. And then Thursday morning. Music was my vehicle. It's what helped me literally melt the walls away and get out. And again, it wasn't about entertainment. I just needed my soul, which was being depleted by these walls and barbed wire fences and things like that, to have something to hold on to, something more than just hope. I needed something that was way more tangible. And music is tactile. For me, it was, And I think without it, I really believe this, and this may seem maybe a little overboard, but I really believe had it not been for music, there's a strong chance I would not have gone as far or maybe turned in the directions that I turned. Music helped me go to school. Music, there was some kind of weird connection between higher education and music. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it now. Music helped me battle addiction. Just makes sense. I couldn't enjoy the music if I was stoned. You know what I mean? Because the drugs would block the portal to my heart, to my soul. So I was like, wait a minute, it's easy. It's music or drugs. I'm getting ready to go. It was easy, man. I smoke pot and waste my time. where I can listen to this music. Music opened my eyes to the fact that I had a musical gift. I didn't know that I was a percussioner or a poet. I didn't have any of those titles. Up until music, I was a repeat offender, deadbeat, crook, lowlife. And music said, nah, man, that's bullshit. What you are is you're human. And you have characteristics and you make mistakes and you were created by something higher and better. Lean into that. Forget about that other stuff. Lean into that. Check out this beat, man. Let this speak to you. And had it not been for that, ain't no telling. I'd probably still be spinning a yard right now, looking to smoke some pot or do something silly. That's what it was for me.
That's something you said. It sort of reminded me of a great quote by Edgar Allan Poe. And I'm going to take some liberties with the quote. I'm going to remix it a little bit, but it goes something to the effect. I fell into this delicious insanity, interrupted only by these long, horrible intervals of sanity. And that's sort of what music and art did, right? We were in this space that had its own brand, its own kind of sanity. And the music and the art brought this delicious insanity into the space, and it transported us out of there and it took us to places that we didn't think were possible. And like Shedrick said, it brought things other than hope. It brought community, it brought family, it brought love. And it was just a thing that interrupted these long, horrible bouts of sanity, and it was incredible.
I mean, if I can say, man, just contrary to popular belief, man, hope is not a big thing for the incarcerated individual. It's unstable at best. Hope. You nuts? I hope I make it to the. Hope they serving something good in the mess hall. That's the extent of hope. I hope they got burgers today, and they're hot. And that's the ball drops at that. It doesn't go any further. It has to be more. It really needs to be more of that. I mean, we spent hours in the music room. Sometimes doing nothing, just wanting to be in the presence of the instruments. That was our group. We were sitting between a drum set and a keyboard and a fence. But just to be in that presence was way better than hope, way more than hope. There was something magical happening in that space. It just felt good to be part of that. You know what I mean? So it's just hope is not to knock hope. You got hope, you're good. You know what I mean? The hope is good, but for the incarcerated individual, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough.
Can I toss a story onto that?
Sure.
There was a time when some art educators from the Studio Museum brought a program with us to Rikers. And at that time we were allowed to bring in music. And the educator had brought in, I think it was Miles Davis. And she was trying to teach the students about abstract art. So she put on some Miles Davis and we were just all of us sitting around the table making, like, I think it was like markers and some collage materials. And we just 45 minutes of complete silence except for the music playing. And this was not a group that was habitually silent. These were I think this was a time when it was 18 to 21-year-olds. So they had a lot of energy, these young women. But it was I couldn't believe it. I was making art in Rikers Island and I was experiencing bliss. And just I'm pretty sure that everybody in the room was feeling.
Yes.
And that was a gift to me.
That's amazing story.
That is amazing.
Mr. Bonilla.
Man.
How important was art in the cultural experience? So I was arrested at a very young age of 19 years old for murder identity me. And throughout my teenage years, I experienced a lot of things, took on many responsibilities that were not for a child. But I felt I had to grow up kind of fast to protect my family. And I did some things that I should have never done. And here I was, a young man, trying to figure out life, right? And they put me in another situation. And I'm like, what's going on here? What am I doing wrong? And in the process of me trying to understand life and figure out a way on how to survive in this setting,
I became something that I didn't want to be, but it was something that needed to exist in order for me to get to where I needed to be, right? And I remember being sent to the box, SHU, where you only get like an hour of recreation. And they gave me like 3 years or something like that. And I was in that cell. And I felt like I'm gonna lose my mind, right? And an officer came by my cell. And he was like, yo, man, you always sitting in the dark thinking, and this and that. He was like, yeah, this pad and this pencil, man, do something. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do something. I grew up as a graffiti artist, right? Some guys go to the extremes to express whatever is it that they wanted to put out into the world. I'm talking about these guys would be upside down in buildings that you'd be like, if you fall from there, you can forget about it. They all gonna remember that name. And you know, I would break night just drawing these pieces all in the cell. Like this thing would look like the Sistine Chapel. And the CEOs just come on, like, bro, what are you doing here? Don't you sleep? I'm talking about draw every wall, but everything was like, you know, combined. It was like, you know, it had its thing, had its theme. They would move from one cell to the other one and then to the other one. They was like, oh my God, we don't even want to paint these walls, right? Because they was like, man, it's so beautiful. What are you doing here? That's the first thing they want to ask you. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out too. But you know, then I kind of like had to, you know, slow down. They was like, bro, we're gonna put you in a hospital. Because that was like the next, like the alternative. Like, we're gonna have to put this guy somewhere, give him some medication, maybe he could slow down or something because he's trying to just get something out. But it was this experience at some age that kind of like made me understand, right? Like, and it kind of like fortified also this hope inside of me, man. I was just like, you know, just seeing how it's changing people around me. They were like, oh, Father, Dad, no, but do another one, come in myself. Like, you know what I mean? That whole thing. And, you know, this was just one of the ways for me to also like, you know, escape from the present situation and be able to express where, you know, words fell short. I wasn't able to express myself through words. I did it through my art. And I seen the impact that it had on people. Even though I got more time too, because it was like taking me to hearings, like, bro, what's going on? You just want to draw on every cell you go into. So, you know, that was the experience that, you know, like I said, during the inception of my incarceration, it helped me develop like some form of understanding and to be able to just let go and just have trust in the process. You know, that was it.
I just want to say this, Amaury brought something that's important. There's so many of our young folks that are incarcerated. And that's why the work that Kristina does and the work that Mia does is so important. They don't have, if you guys only knew how badly these young folks get treated inside these carceral spaces. I mean, they get abused. And there's very little resources, there's nothing for them to do. These young kids, talking from 14 on up to 20 to 21. And they have all this energy, all this creative energy, all this, you know, and they need an outlet. They need something to get the stuff that's in them out. Many of them don't even know they're artists, poets, or what have you, musicians. And when Mia steps in these places, you can see their faces light up. I've been to Rikers Island several times with Mia, and Jesus Christ, man, it's like you can see the transformation immediately. Like when they're coming in that space, you can see sort of dragging their feet a little bit because they're being escorted by CEOs and bars and cells. Once they get in this space, they light up. Oh, me, oh man, and it's just. So it's, you know, I just want to give kudos to Mia and Kristina for the amazing work you guys do. Because you're not going to get rich doing this work. So whoever's interested in working inside prisons and carcerations, you're not going to get rich. It's not going to get a rich thing, but it's super rewarding, man. And the fact that there are people willing to suffer through this, because every time I go back, Mia invited me twice, 2 days in a row. I went one day, I could not go back the next day. I could not. It took too much out of me. So I just want to say thank you again.
I'm also I don't know, poet. I write poetry. Poetry, that's what I call it, right? Because I see some forms of poetry, man, that's just like so mind blowing. Some are just so confusing to me. I just, I gotta rest. I gotta really think about this, right? But over the years, although I lost a lot of property and stuff like that, a lot of the stuff that I wrote a lot of stuff while I was incarcerated. A lot of stuff, a lot of material. Even to this day, like I look at all this stuff, I be like, well, I'm talking about things that 20 years ago. And thanks to meaning that invited me here, I found a poem that I wrote. And I would like to share with everyone, please. Right. And probably my emotions on my sleeve, man. I love vulnerability, right? I do. It always takes me back to this quote that I read. I used to pick up books, old books. Some of them wasn't, they just look old, but they wasn't really. But I'll like open a book and whatever page. And I always believed that there was a message there, right? And I opened up this book one time, and it was while I was going to like Buddha services. And I opened up the book and it said, freedom is the willingness to risk being vulnerable. Freedom is the willingness to risk being vulnerable. And I remember just reading that once, and it just resonated with me, and I never forgot that. And I said, no matter what I go through in life, right? Resiliency is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to be able to relive, right? Whatever experience it is, right? And so I found this poem, and I was like, wow, for all these years, and I never titled it or nothing. I'm sure I was in the box. And it goes just like this. It goes, there's just too much happening in my mind. I'm afraid if I open my mouth, I will change the course of time. In the process, lose my mind, which can be a difficult thing to find. Especially for immortal who strives to be immortal. Give me a pen, a brush with a sheet or something, so I can open up a portal for me to escape to a place where colors and lines display my vulnerability, so that others can figure out this rage in my mind. Maybe I'll make headlines and the world will take me seriously. This is the only way I can pave the way without placing my face through the eye of this noose, tied by the hands of political agendas that are far from the truth. I'm something like Clark Kent, who refuses to live in a booth. Art has always inspired me, truthfully. Even Superman needs a little boost. My colors look belligerent, like they rage into confuse. But when they settle and slowly infuse, people become amused with this concoction. My pain and suffering are tempted to brew. Now I find myself feeling inebriated, just like you. Incredible what art can do. Once again, I'm at peace with myself, no longer allowing this place to break the higher self, to suppressing every minute I felt. To the world, I share my artistic wealth.
Thank you, yes. No, I was gonna say, because today's theme is about art as an expression of freedom, right? How has your art changed from when you were inside to your art now? Has it changed at all? And is it about freedom now? Because I remember asking Kenyatta this, how has his music changed now that he's outside? And I'm just curious if that's happened to you. How has your art changed from what you were doing on the inside to what you're doing now on the outside? Anybody can start.
I mean, I'm really kind of stuck on some, like, I guess there's an anecdote that is things right now that I've never told anybody before. But I have to say it almost vested me, and it really came up when you were in the last series of power. Is to not get broken by that institutional space. Like it is the of that.
Absolutely.
You know what, I think playing in bed, some settings are different than others, but when I was in barracks setting where there's 40 people in one room, we're all bunks, 23 hours a day, in my mid-20s talking about wanting to go back to school and get a master's degree. I got my way through my undergrad, like doing the legal stuff, coming up on money however I could. and holding down my scholarship because I tried the 40 hours because dynamic. It's not can't grades up. So I found my money, I got locked up, got done school first though, but I'm laying there and I'm ready to go back. Like I've sat here, been bored long enough. And none of us thought that that would be possible. We're talking about what it's like to be someone with no record. Like, how can you can't go back to school anymore, they won't fund you, you won't be able to get student loans, etc. There's just so much production of inaccuracies as to what our access to education would be. And I know in that room that there were so many people that talked themselves out of trying to go to school. Simply because we thought as criminals, the rhetoric the United States have put on us through the media, through popular culture, through the whispers on the streets was, yeah, you're marked now, you're rejected, and you don't have the opportunity to be proactive with your life. You are now permanently relegated to the working poor. And I think for a lot of people that took them out of worlds that they had inhabited, parents, kids that maybe had committed a fraud to try to stay afloat, especially during the housing crisis. But for me, it was truly stubbornness. Like the fact about recidivism is people do not have access to some of the purpose in their life. There is no chance.
Amen.
Yes, and you will commit things, not because you're a criminal, because your options. So if we do not want to see people return to these institutional settings, what we have to do is create opportunity. And then breathe some life into those folks that might have had been brainwashed. I felt like I truly applied to my master's degree out of stubbornness and a lack of opportunity. I was a single mother, pregnant in Western Pennsylvania, and I came out of the hospital after having my daughter, and within 2 weeks produced a portfolio to apply to state school for my master's to Penn State. I was still pumping it around. 8 hours a week at a restaurant as a barback, carrying cakes of beer while I was pregnant. I was like, this shall not stand. If I put as much energy as I am into this restaurant, into my art, and I will go places. And that is what's.
Thank you. Yes. Mr. Blackwell, please.
I don't know, man. I don't feel music any differently today. In fact, I feel it stronger now, man. I don't. My reference is still kind of small, you know. I just served 20 years in prison. I've been on 29 days.
29 days, guys.
29 forever. 29 forever. That's a fact. I ain't going back. And I ain't talking about no silly stuff like holy court, the street. They ain't never take me alive. I ain't talking about that shit. I just ain't going back. I ain't nothing going back to prison. That is over. Yeah, that's it. I'm still caught up on things that are happening in a world that I know nothing about. For me, this is like, I feel like a newborn. This is birth. I'm ecstatic. I have friends in the room who I tell this to all the time, like how I spend my downtime. I walk around Midtown, I smile at people. They hate me for it, but I don't care. But you know, because I never got a chance to do that. You know, I just told you that story the other day. I was like, "What are you smiling at, bro?" I'm smiling at you. So stop smiling at me. Stop smiling. You're missing out, man. It's $1 million a mile, bro. You're gonna float. You know what I mean? The music, it's never gonna be secondary. Now it's more of a accompaniment. This is like the Jamie Abersol play-alongs.
But I'm not just talking about music though, you're also a poet, bro. I'm not just talking about music. Music is not the only art expression that you know.
Can I read something?
That'd be fantastic. When did you write it?
Oh my God, I wrote it. Okay, let me give you some context. I was in a place called Pitsaki Correctional Facility. This is an American gulag. Make no mistake about it. They practiced oppression at the highest level. There was no music, there was no way to express yourself. It was lock in when I tell you, lock out when I tell you, move the way I tell you, when I tell you to do it. And I need some relief because I couldn't handle that, like just being in control. And this gentleman actually told me I'm gonna write something. I was like, write what? I'm ready to write the governor. That's what I'm gonna write. I'm gonna write somebody. I'm gonna write Sam, somebody. This is crazy, you know, man. I said, just write about your film. So I started writing, and I come to find out that, I mean, I know a little something. I didn't have anything prepared. However, just for the record, that's hard to follow, but I'll give it a try. So these are just the mental ramblings of a guy serving time, trying to figure out how to get from breakfast to lunch.
Can you tell us what kind of space you were in mentally when you wrote this?
A lot of this was during the pandemic. I was scared to death. I have a really serious heart condition and high blood pressure, diabetes, all of the comorbidities, which oddly enough, only just for the Black and brown folks. Are we the only ones that have comorbidities?
Every single one of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Separating that, but I was during the pandemic, and I was in a place where it was clear that no one really gave a hoot about what was going on. I was so afraid to get sick, because I really thought I would die. And I'm not changing that position. I really believe that had I gotten sick, I would have died. But they just didn't care. They didn't care about wearing masks. None of that. It was like people were dying around me, literally cells away. And for me, it wasn't a matter of what I would die from, but when. You know, a cell away from me died, like in his cell. And I was like, man, this is some bullshit. Like, this is messed up, bro. And can you move me? We ain't moving nobody. Stay where you at. It was crazy. So I was writing from that kind of pain and that kind of distress. That's really what it was, distress. This is not about that, but this is about the freedom thing. This was my position on freedom. And its title is called Think About It. And I wrote, I think about it sometimes. Not as often as I used to, but it occupies space in my mind. Earlier, when the light shining at the end of the tunnel was nothing more than a glimmer, my thoughts of it were more a means to an end. Tooth fairy thoughts that I tucked under my pillow, a mental device I would use to assist me in the process of getting through another day of life in a cage. Recently, things have changed. Now, what was once a distant dream has somehow become my reality. After 7,300 days, 1,040 weeks, 175,200 hours of captivity in an American gulag, there was a possibility I would be free. Despite what I thought I would be feeling, or what it would be like to feel, for that matter, the idea of living in a world free of barbed wire fences and 30-foot concrete walls scares me beyond words. Shaken to my core, I wrestle with the fear that 2 decades of incarceration has fleeced me of so much more than days, weeks, months, or years. Imprisonment has scarred me so deeply, I worry that my soul reflects only the evidence of trauma instead of the achievement of my healing. Robbed of an assortment of necessary human qualities, my spirit balks at freedom, at the idea of being free. Moreover, freedom does not equate to liberty as much as it equates to something potentially far more worse. Another prison. At this point, 20 years removed from society, I fear freedom may not look good on me. It doesn't feel like my friend. Frankly, life beyond the confines of a penitentiary are unfamiliar to me. Freedom racks me with insecurity. How would I feel on the outside? How would I interact with others? How would others react to me? It doesn't matter, because whatever freedom will or will not be for me, I am certain it will be better than life in a cage. Better than yakisoba, better than turkey chow mein. On the count, commissary going out, yard, lock in, lock in, lock in. That's free.
I remember Shedrick called me one day. This was sometime in May of 2020. He called me regularly, and he sounded really scared. I've never heard him sound this way. It really messed me up. He said, "Yo, bro, man, what's going on, man? This pandemic thing is killing me. People are just knocking off in here, and the administration doesn't care. They're finding guys in their cages dead 2 or 3 days. Been dead in there 2 or 3 days, man. He was afraid, man, and you could hear his voice, and it made me afraid. I had never heard of like that. So the only piece of advice that I could give him was write about it. I said, write a piece of music and we'll play it out or something. And he was like, man, I don't have any instrument. I don't have, I'm not in that headspace. And I said, well, write something else, write a poem, write something. He had never written a poem. And he didn't write this piece, it was another piece. And I was looking for it, I couldn't find it, man. It was called, I forgot the name of it, but it moved me so much that I performed it. I asked him if I could perform today. Yeah. And I asked him if I could perform it for folks. I think needed to hear this. And I performed it. I didn't do it. I don't believe I did it the justice that he could have done it. And he performed it one time over the phone and it killed him. But I performed it for folks over the phone. Over the phone several times, and it never failed to move folks and just impress upon folks how dire and it's the urgency of the situation, how much we needed to do about our folks on the inside. Not enough was being done, and it just it shook me to my core, like he said. So about his phrase that I had friends on the inside that I could not do anything for. I could not help in any way, and it was possible that because of this virus, this bug, they were all in harm's way, and it really messed me up for a long time. But thank you for that. So have you written anything since you've been on?
Nah, I'm too excited, too distracted. It's funny you say that. A guy asked me, I asked a friend of mine who's in prison, we laughed and joked, but we only did it amongst us. Like it was really, but those were our private moments. And somebody asked a friend of mine, like, why that guy smile much? And my friend responded, man, because ain't shit funny.
Good show.
And the damn thing funny, man. We serving hard time, man. There's no humor here. But now, man, I'm distracted, man. There's all kind of stuff. I walked through Midtown Manhattan, and this tour. I was happy to be a tourist. I was looking up, down. I was trying to. Now, I'm getting wrestled to the ground by a cell phone every day. I hang up on more people than I answer calls, and when they finally get through, they're like, "Man, I get it, man. Don't worry about it. I'll just text you." And then I don't know how to find a text, And so, I'm excited about it. People like, I can't stand this damn phone. I'm like, man, I can't find a text. Yes. That's that damn email.
You outside?
We outside. That's the slogan. That's our slogan. That is the mantra. That we outside. Don't make no matter what, man. Nobody else outside.
All right. My time check person just told me we're running out of time. So I just want to ask Amaury, have you written anything since you've been out? Have you written any poems, any music? He's also an amazing musician, by the way.
That's a fact.
He doesn't speak that much.
All right, everything. I do. I actually have a book that I'm working on called Life Behind Bars, right? And I do it every day. As far as like the other aspects of art, like drawing and stuff like that, I can't escape it, right? My wife was there, right? Jennifer, raise your hand. Also an artist. She's very crafty, especially now she learned how to make rice. Different ways. But she always supported me, man. Like, I remember I came home, man, and we went to Blake's and we went ham. We walked out of there with a whole bunch of stuff, and we were like, how are we gonna carry this thing? Uber or something? She was like, whatever you want, and thank you. And so I have a 4-year-old daughter. Her name is Melina Flor. Remember that name? Melina Flor. Right? And one of her genetic dispositions is that she's a raging artist. By every means of the word. Like, she will come, I'll be doing something, and she'll be like, Daddy, that's not right. I'm Joseph. And it's through her that I experience the beauty of art also, right? Like, just seeing her painting, like, wow, man, she got this in her, right? From us. And, you know, she's a 4-year-old, she's done it in places, you know, I done fell asleep, things on my face, I don't even know, I'm ready to go to work, my wife was like, bro, you gonna clean your face? I was like, but I did clean. And I got rolls on my forehead, that type of stuff. But, you know, like I said, a lot of the stuff I don't do, right? Don't practice it. But, you know, I just watch my daughter do it, man, and she's fine. We draw together and stuff like that, but it's more for her to just like get her like dive into it. But hopefully I will get back. Because I do miss, you know, making music, and my wife is always beating my head like, yo, bro, what's up? What are you waiting for? You gonna pass this down to your daughter? Or these are just gonna be one of the prints in the sand that you're gonna set. You know what I mean? And it's hard because, like, you know, my boy, I call him Pat, right? Even though I've been home 5-6 years, the distractions, life is just so beautiful. I served 25 years for a murder I didn't do, and to come home, you know, sometimes I do get caught up in that space where I'm like, damn, I'm nowhere where I'm supposed to be. Wife, my daughter, my longtime friend, they always remind me, you are where you need to be. You good, be easy, right? Just let it go. One day I'll drop those things.
So since we're running out of time, guys, and we really want the crowd to participate, it's a great time for questions, guys. So please ask these questions. Let's get some engagement going. Let's go. Who's gonna be the first one up? Can I get a hand? Right there in back. Can you say your name, please?
I'm Helga.
Hey, Helga.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I can do this from here, I promise.
Fantastic.
You spoke a little bit about bringing the art to young people and wanting to engage with more young people. And I'm wondering if you think now about how you can do that with the kids you see hanging out in your neighborhoods. I like you, smile at people, and I'm often met with a lot of aggression. And so when people say to me, why are you smiling? Because I get that too. And so because no one ever smiles at us. And we have to start smiling at each other. And having so what are the things that you feel now that you're out that you can share with or bring to the young people you come into contact with? And how do you get support for that? I think that a lot of times we think we need to go somewhere and help someone instead of helping them right where our feet are. So how can we support you and the young people you come into contact with?
So, as a re-entry specialist, that's what I call myself, right? Therapist, psychologist, you name it. You know, I do come across many young men, right? And when they're in groups, it's hard to really reach out to them, right? Because, you know, let's face it, you know, being vulnerable is hard. It's hard, especially when you feel you have so little to protect, right? And it's all about, you know, taking these young men, whether it's pulling them to the side or whatever, right? And exposing a level of vulnerability with yourself to allow them to open up. I go through it on a regular. I have some that come, oh, listen, man, you don't know. When I tell them my story, there's like, oh, hold up. How can we speak? You know what I mean? So it's about just taking them away where they feel comfortable, like finding that comfort space for them to actually express themselves, right? Because a lot of them, you know, they've been battered by time, experiences and stuff like that, right? And it's hard to just communicate with them when you have other individuals that have different agendas, probably both the same individual. You know, so I think that that's something that's very important, finding that comfort zone where you can allow yourself to be vulnerable so they can be vulnerable with you. And then you could explore whatever, you know, skills or talents that they might have. You know, what is it that they're really looking forward to doing with their life? You know,
You get them in the spaces.
I think it goes even a little deeper. I'm sorry, I think it goes even a little deeper than that. And this is a direction that I'm definitely moving in. They look so rebellious and so radical in their behavior and their stance and their posture. Because I don't believe they know just how much agency they have. Like you have to meet. And when I was 14, I would have loved for somebody to tell me, yo, you don't never got to go to prison. That never has to be a reality.
Yes, I do.
You can do this, that, and the third. Right, I was getting, man, that's the rite of passage. Listen, forget about this. This is how you got to do it. This is how you come up, stay down for your crown, you come up long and strong. All the lingo that came with the game, and it's relentless. You know what I mean? The pimps, the players, the hustlers, they're on your back. They see something in you that your own family don't see, potential. And, you know, potential for what, man? Don't make a difference. You got it, kid. Meet me here tomorrow. Got something for you. So I believe it really, it's boots on the ground type work. Like, you need to meet these kids right where they're at, man. You know, and let, yeah, right there. Say, yo, bro, first of all, I need you to know, man, you special. You're more than enough. You got the power of change right in your hand. And you may not know, but I'm gonna tell you, you got it. You just have to utilize it. You gotta believe it. Your dreams don't chase you. You know what I mean? They don't chase you. You gotta chase the dreams. And I believe that's something that's practical and very doable. And it has a lot to do with vulnerability. As the saying goes, man, you know, growth and change lives, what do they say? Right where your comfort zone ends. And that's where you got to get them. You got to get them right there. You got to convince them to believe it. Or you got to convince them that convincing themselves is the right thing to do. That you got some say so in your own life. You play a role. You know what I'm saying? You play a big part. And I think it's collaborative. We have to go back to those extended family values that we practice. Many of us who are my age that know what I'm talking about, where, you know, you got it. When I was young, you know, I got some advice from everybody that was older than me in my neighborhood. I couldn't do no wrong. Not out open. Somebody, you know, I think it lives there too in that kind of community.
I think I'm gonna echo what I've heard everybody bring up too and just build upon that. I mean, I think collaboration strips bare the farce of individuality that the US has run upon, that we actually can do decolonial work. We work together and we share and we collaborate. I think that's a step forward. I think to get those people to come together and collaborate requires materials. It requires time. For the patients that I think Shedrick was talking about, that you really have to wait for folks that are coming of age to come to you. And then space in order for those people to come to you in return. The ways to go about getting that and getting the funding for that is obscured, I think, by the grant system and the nonprofit industrial complex. I think that working with the criminal justice system here in New York for the past 7.5 years through gallery space that actually works with the DA's office, making referrals from there, has been really difficult for a lot of the staff that haven't been incarcerated before. But the few of us that are on staff that have been incarcerated before have no problem dealing with the other side of the law, because we know it's not going anywhere. And our form of resistance isn't to try to push up against that. It's to try to change through those kinds of collaborations and community exercises the actual fabric of what we need prisons or jails in the first place. So to get the young people, you go to them, right? So you can work with the DA office if you want, if you have the privilege to make those connections. I have an ice cream cart and I wheel it around with two t-shirt buttons on the end. And I source abolition statements from the people I do harm reduction with on the streets on Tuesdays. And then I make simple 2 or 3 color posters with the folks on the block. And I just go from my doorstep to Malcolm X Park, 4 blocks. And I just, you know, it's out of my, there's no grant yet. And you just do it, you put that time in every week. Yeah, and I think Medgar Evers understood that if you want radical social change in this country especially, you can always believe in your high school students and your out of college students, because they have the confidence in the voice. That we lose, we get scared as we grow older. You know, maybe exceptional in this room, but I think if you can get yourself out there with a few practice skills, whatever it is that you have to offer, you just post up. You know, and you come back, consistency is really important. It's a caring profession.
It doesn't necessarily take a brick and mortar space. Like I'm in the South Bronx and I walk by a park every day and these young kids are always playing basketball. And you know, hey, good morning, guys, what's happening, fellas? And at first they wouldn't respond, but you know, I do it so consistently and I'm so sincere with it. Hey, OG, they call me OG. Hey, OG, what's up? And sometimes we get to talk a jump. You know, I get to talk a jump to an kid, you gotta work on your jump shot. It's really bad, man. And before I hurt my shoulder, so I used to play ball. They called me out. Hey, OG, we kick your ass. Come in the park. You go in there and play ball. So, you know, and it's not, and I thought you had to preach to these young kids. They don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear, they want to be heard.
Right through it.
And they have their own solutions. They have
Thoughts
solutions.
about.
And most of the time, they have good solutions. They may not know how to articulate them, they may not know how to activate and put them together. They need to be heard and they want to be heard. And that space can happen anywhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to come to the space, and it can happen anywhere, wherever you're at, you know. So I just think, you know, that's important to know.
I think.
Yeah, this brother right here.
Okay.
Can you say your name?
Sure, Hector Lopez. So I'm thinking about the end game. So I understand in the carceral space, like, you know, we have a lot of time to think about what your life looks like, right? And how that trajectory is gonna get you where you wanna be when you get out, right? So I'm sure we could create all these plans. So now that the boots are on the ground, right, what does the end game look like? Because most people don't plan for the end game, right? They just plan to get out here, and, you know, get a living, hopefully make a family, and, you know, try to acclimate back to society. But there's an end game to everything. If you don't have an end game planned out, then who knows where that goes? So my question to the panel is, what does the end game look like?
And I just asked it, you know, since we're running out of time, it's going to be answers as short and concise as possible. Thank you, guys.
I mean, for me, the end game is to try to think outside the box with regards to what I'm trying to do, what the objectives are, how to reach them. It's for me, it's a little bit more than just selling for employment and some housing. I believe I'm obligated because of the time I've made the mistakes for a lot of these people, for the kids, for the young adults. And I think my job, the end game, is to get that message out. One, to be vulnerable, because being vulnerable says that if I can do it, so can you. And to just create legacy somewhere. You know, I use the old, you know, what would they say if it was your funeral? What would they say if they stand? Well, how about this? What can you say about this guy? You know, and that's my main man. I don't want, this guy was a jerk, and he only still owe me $20, man. I was mad when he died. I'm trying that damn money. I'm not going for that. You know, I'm looking for something else. The end game is to make an impact, an indelible mark for these kids, for their kids, and leave the world knowing that I left something behind, a seed.
And
My end game.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. No.
My end game, man, is when I leave this place, of course, I want to leave my friends, but a little human being that I have right now, I want her to be very resourceful, right? Even the little things that are like overlooked, like teaching her, everything has its place, right? And that's the end game there, man, to just be able to pass that forward, man, where she'll be able to, like, you know, bring to the world even that little grain of sort of hope. And that's it, man. To be honest.
And I think everyone in this room shares sort of the same end game. Whether they know it or not, it's to leave the world a better place than what we found it.
Yes.
Somehow, it doesn't have to be huge. Just to leave it a little better than what I found. You know, I've done more than my fair share. I mean, I have less tomorrows than I had yesterdays, right? So I don't have a lot of time left. And I've done more than my fair share to ruin the planet. Yeah, to really make a black mark on the planet. And I want to erase that if I can, or at least negate that somehow. Just leave this place so much better, man, than when I found it. That's it, man. And I think that's what everybody strives for, whether you know, their own acts or maybe raising a child that will do it, whatever the case may be, but just leaving it a better place.
So I have something
Yes,
I'm thinking about this incredible film Angola. Can you hear us?
yes.
About with Liza Jepsen.
Yes.
And she, there's one part where, and again, I don't remember it word for word, but where she says that Harriet Tubman was born into slavery. she didn't know anything else, and yet somehow she could see that there was something else and she was gonna go find it.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like that's what art is for,
Mm.
is for like imagining what else, like we are in this world with all its problems. And I don't know what the end game is, but it's like trying to get where Harriet Tubman went.
Mm.
Hi, yes, can you say your name, please?
Awesome, my name is Lisa. First, I just want to say I've done alternative to incarceration, alternative to detention work, I've done behavioral health work. It does get sort of like, you feel a little hopeless, on that end, you feel like you're being a lawyer in a way to a system and passively engaging in it. So I'm really glad I came here and I'm listening to you folks because I really want to work with this population, but in a way that doesn't feel like exploitive or like I think I'm like a savior of sorts. So boots on the ground sounds wonderful. I wanted to reframe the question around endgame. Our questions could pass simultaneously, but I'm just gonna say it's kind of rhetorical at this point. Having survived 20 to 25 bids and bouts of recidivism, how do you alchemize the rightful rage that has the potential to be a dormant cancer? Secondly, although art is a means of expression, how do you catalyze the emotional transformation to compost the past and fertilize your unfolding destiny?
Oh,
And you're a poet.
oh, yes.
Where's that?
Yes.
Yeah, so, for me, it's surrounding myself with the right people. It starts there, it's having the right support system. I remember when I came home, thankfully I had the right support system around me. And I was able to, for lack of a better phrase, weaponize that, leverage that, in a way that I never could before. I've never had that type of support in my life. And there's a lot of rage involved with incarceration, with stuff prior to incarceration. Family abuse, growing up in the foster care system, physical abuse. So that rage has been there, it's been a cloud, and so just to keep the sort of focus on myself, it's been a cloud in my life for a long time. And that's where art became so vital. It allowed me to sort of use that rage fuel to create artistic works, create music. And now on the other side, sort of help young folks, even help older folks, whoever I can. So it's being able to be around folks who can guide you in a way to help you. Because it's very difficult to learn this on your own.
Yeah.
How do I fuel this? How do I use this rage? How do I use this in a positive way? So I think it begins with a proper support system. Education obviously is huge. Education is oh my God, it was probably the most vital
Absolutely.
in my transformation.
Absolutely.
Because it allowed me, because usually what builds this rage is not being able to articulate what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and educating oneself allows that to happen. It allows me to articulate, it allows me to speak, to communicate, and it allows a lot of that rage to sort of gas out.
Well, with the adage is if you're not paying attention.
Yes,
Exactly.
So to speak to the authenticity really quick, I want to just get behind you and be like, everybody should be sharing their time with people who have intersectional expressions. It's everybody's problem, and there's no voyeurism in the work.
Yeah, I want to say that. Don't get caught up in that of feeling voyeuristic. Stay authentic. I mean, just stay true to the objective of what you're trying to do. And that authenticity will slide right through. And then keep in the forefront of what the message you're trying to share. You know, especially when you talk about incarcerated individuals. One thing that goes to the wayside all the time is that people fail to remember that what exists beyond the walls of a prison is humanity. There are people there. They're not just numbers, these are statistics. There are people that if you can focus on humanity, then it's not voyeurism. It's just a good clear look at what you're looking at and seeing it for what it really is and just being authentic and being authentic in those efforts. Don't get caught up in all that, you know what I mean? And the education piece is the best. That is the very piece. The more you know, the more you can do. You know, as the old saying goes, if all you are is a hammer, then the whole world looks like a nail. It doesn't have to be that way. You know, you can learn some more stuff and you become more tools and you can help. You know, you use the tools on yourself, you use the tools on others, you take care of the tools and let the tools do the work. And that's how that works. That is the recipe.
And I also just want to say, I fought progress fuck the farce of contribution, like, I'm with Franz Fanon on this one, like, laziness is the form of resistance, like, you don't have to produce. You know, like, education is there as a tool that we should lust after and want to consume because we're hungry for it, because we have a fever for it, not because you have to do that to prove your value to exist.
I just want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine who was here in the crowd. When I made parole, I hadn't seen my friend, a good friend, in about almost 20 years. And I made parole, I was coming home to a shelter. I don't have any family, I didn't have anywhere to stay. And a good friend of mine came to see me. They called me down for a visit, I was shocked. And so I went to see him and he said, "Hey, when you come home, where are you gonna stay?" I said, "I'm staying home in the shelter. I'm staying in the shelter." He said, "A shelter? Man, fuck a shelter. You can stay with me." And I said, "What?" I said, "Bro, that's not a good idea. Like, the parole officer can come anytime he wants. They can come with police officers and search the apartment. I wouldn't want to put you through that. I wouldn't want to put anyone through that." And he asked me one question. He said, "Are you gonna be doing anything crazy?" Now those days are over. Boy, those days are over. I'm finished. I'm retired. He said, "Then you can come stay with me. I don't care who comes, when they come, let them come." And so my friend Jason.
Yes.
It's important that I'm able to do the things I'm doing and be able to have done the things I've done while I've been on the outside. But how does support, I don't know well with Ben, man. So I love you, bro.
Yeah. I can't let Jay escape too, because that's my story as well. I had no family as well during most of my time. I spent 6 of 20 years by your side every day. Literally every day, that's what we did. And I remember coming home, one of the fears was having to put on some monkey suit, you know, to parole out in some weird outfit, get on a bus where they just, you know, they plop you in the middle of this, you know, upstate town. Everybody in the town knows you, you know, you just got released. And you was like, "Nah, man, we coming to get you." And I'm on live, and there was a moment like, "Hey, you ain't coming to get me. You driving home stage." And the day I walked out, you see me when I made that turn. I was shook. They said, "Yeah, just go down, you're free." And I was, you walk out, I was like, "Yeah, you just go down that way." And I was like, "Man, first of all, go down that way sounds like a setup." I saw this in a movie somewhere. A little more, you know, right in there. It's like, that was a De Niro movie. I remember how that worked out. It wasn't good. And I turned that corner. It's you, Jason, who is also my friend. I love you, my brother. And you. And that made the world of a difference, man. Starting on that right foot, just knowing that you have that kind of support, things that we've never had, many of us have never had. Just someone that says, "Man, I don't give a fuck about you, man, for real, for real, for real." You know what I mean? My pain is yours. I'm gonna share it with you, and we'll get through it together, no matter how. And I love you both for it. And there are many friends in this room who I would love to say that for. Nicole Delgadillo, Juan Shen, Lenny Penorgia.
Outside.
Thank
We outside.
We have time for.
Oh, yeah?
More.
His brother right here had a question.
My name is Ibrahim Rivera. Actually, I want to tell you, you know, welcome home.
Thank
you. I want to ask, because I see how sometimes, like, I work with Amaury, and I see how life gets life, and then sometimes we lose the muse that gave us that potential and gave us that strength to overcome those barriers while incarcerated. How do every single one of you maintain your muse, and how do you envision you within the arts, utilizing the arts to continue the progress that people are making?
That's a great question.
I'm sorry, someone else want to go?
Kristina, please.
Yeah, please, Jerry.
I have to remind myself, especially when it's about school, because you get so wrapped up in the system. You know, you're institutionalized in multiple ways, and I feel like that really gives us all. If you don't feel like you identify with criminal justice institution, you can with the education one. I just sit and remember the initial acceptance of being a cell. What I looked at, the plexiglass 2-pane window that I stared out when I was and the whole, just that's all I get. You have to bring yourself back to that humble place. But I also listened to someone pass in a cell next to me. She was miscarrying. She was not provided the methadone she had on the streets when she was pregnant. She was a friend. Where are those memorials?
Yeah.
Right? Where are the flags outside of the institutions showing how many people did die inside of there from COVID? How many suicides? Because we hear them happen, but we never actually times more reports or the process. And so I think I keep my center by remembering like that's my job, is to find that money, to put those flags together, to do it with the kids on the street, and bring it back into the front of the institutions and in front of God and everybody, to be like, this happened here.
The way I maintain my momentum thus far, I don't believe it's going to change. I don't think it's going to wane at all. And as I've learned to not categorize pain, the pain of incarceration is the pain of incarceration. Pain is pain is pain is pain. I don't want the discomfort. Les Brown tells a great story about a guy walking down a road and running into a country house where there's an old man and he asks for a glass of water and there's a dog there moaning. And he inquires as to why the dog was moaning. He said, because the dog is laying on a nail. He said, well, why don't you get up? He said, because it doesn't hurt bad enough yet. And I've learned to take this metaphor. This pain hurts when it hurts all the time. And the memory of those pains, of those nights, of the 2 pains, of being in the box, of the 23 hours, of being the subject of ignorant slander and social invisibility, is pain. It's not that kind of pain versus this kind of pain. No, it is pain. And the objective is to avoid the discomfort. And that creates momentum to stay in the path, to stay on the lane, and keep doing what you've been doing because you don't want the pain.
Yes. One thing that I always told myself from a very young age is that I would not allow anything to break my humanity. No matter what I went through. When I tell you I've been through hell, I've been through hell. And every day I wake up, I smile. I'm grateful. I embrace my past. And I wouldn't change nothing about it because I wouldn't be here with all of you. And all the great people that I know, this is what keeps me going. And knowing that had I had the resources that I had today or had throughout my journey, you know what I mean? I probably would have never went through what I've been through. So I have to become that resource. And that's what keeps me going every day, right? Being able to, as a case manager, someone coming in and they're like, yo, that blueprint you gave me worked. And he's doing better than me. I'm like, hold on, you trying to what's going on here? Right? But it's the moments that are so gratifying, man. It's so humbling. You know what I mean? You can never push forward with your life. You just don't embrace your past. Find how worthy it is, right? Because they found you worthy to be here now. Right? And yeah, don't allow nothing to break your humanity. That's the most important thing.
I think for me, it's just, I like who I am today, I didn't like who I used to be, what I used to be, what I used to do. Jason has known me for a very long time. I was good to the people that I knew, that were, I consider friends, and I was not so good to folks that I didn't know. I wasn't a very nice person. So I think what fuels me is that I love who I am today, that I know there's a better self waiting for me every time I wake up, every time I'm in spaces like this, every time I'm surrounded by good folks. There's a better version of me waiting. And I didn't know that was possible. I had no idea that was possible. That there's a better version of myself, or I can make a better version of myself every day. And that's what fuels me, that I want to be better today than I was yesterday. And I think it's huge. Like again, because I didn't know that was possible. So that's what fuels me. That's really
cool. So at my job, even though this is a name that's been with me for years, right? But I'm known as Tony Starks, right? I don't have his money, right? Maybe the jury will know it. It's a name that's been given me for many years. But when I came home, I saw the movie. right? Iron Man. And I was like, all right, let me see what this is about, right? They rather Iron Man because I used to be working out and stuff. You know, I was kind of fit. I was like, I gotta make it out someday, but I gotta stay healthy in order for me to, you know, reach that goal. And when I saw the movie, it resonated in me because here was this person that was at his peak, right? He was living well. He was living, you know, very he was living his life, right? A good life, while at the same time creating weapons of mass destruction, right? And I looked at myself and I said, you know what? I was taking care of my people, like you were saying, doing all the negative things. And as long as my peoples was good, we were good, right? And I had to actually be buried alive in order for me to redefine myself. And I tell these stories to a lot of young men that come to Exodus. They sit down and be like, yo, what's up, man? All this Iron Man paraphernalia. Tony Stark. And I tell them my story. I said, you know, I was placed in a situation where I engaged with people that I never thought I would engage with. People at one time would be like, bro, you probably couldn't even get close to me, to be honest. My friends were so overprotective, right? And, you know, when I saw the movie, it resonated in me, man. And, you know, my coworkers just took it to another level, man. They just buy me all type of Iron Man stuff. You're gonna know where my desk is. You know what I mean? But and it's like I said, it's so important, right? That I just embraced everything I've been through because I am the manifestation of that.
Yeah. That's right.
And I have a passion.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
That's okay, it's because I feel like I just feel, okay. So I feel a lot of solidarity at the table, and there's something that's concerned me that's sort of functions in silence. It's the undertow of the criminal justice system that's happening right now. And if everybody is aware of it, it's privatization of the prison and jail systems. That is most often when you see the most egregious things happen in spaces, because that privatization allows for different regulations and different treatments, different holes and cracks for things to seep through. Look into your local areas and jurisdictions, research social impact bonds, because those are getting into our parole and our probation systems, where large businesses, Fortune 500 companies are investing in the punishment of the lower classes that are getting incarcerated. That is the privatization of human suffering and the benefits for the 1%. Just want to say it's happening here. Keep an eye out for it.
Mia, please, thank you for that. Can you let folks know how they can volunteer or help out?
Sure.
If anybody's interested in volunteering or working in a carceral setting, Mia's gonna let you know how that's.
Sure, if you go to the Justice and Education website, then there's a tab there, I believe it says get involved.
Yeah.
I've been doing some change stuff on the website. I'm not sure exactly what the words are, but it's on there. There's a place where you can enter your email and tell us how you want to be contributing.
Do it for those of us that won't want us back inside and see you for a long time.
So with that said, first of all, thank you guys. You guys are fantastic. I love you. Cindy has another poem that he would like to close with.
If you don't mind.
If you guys don't mind.
Please do.
Right. It's tears. Not the ordinary ones, but the ones that fill the eye completely. The tears that feel like they're crying tears. The ones that blur your vision and make your chest so heavy with sobbing, breathing becomes more of a chore than an involuntary response. For me, it happens there. Listen to the blaring volume, the almost unbearable loudness of silence as it becomes the catalyst of change, where quiet is a salve, a spiritual ointment, treating and soothing aches and pains and nursing my mind, body, and soul back to health. It happens this way as well. I'm sure it's a celestial experience that addresses the discomfort, be it holy words etched onto silken paper, bent knees and clasped hands, a forehead pressed against the coolness of a scented rug, or the whisper of hope from Mother Earth that allows me to purge and cultivate a sacred space for my wellness to enter. This was how my grandmother did it. I would be remiss if I did not mention the importance of time, the phenomenon of seconds turning into minutes, minutes into hours, hours into days, sand sifting through the clock's narrow passage. As old wounds scab over, the itchy presence of reassurance that restoration is near. I learned two things here: patience and trust are necessary if it's magic you're looking for. Ultimately, the process resides in my willingness to let it happen. A willingness to let my emotional fatigue and physical exhaustion fuel a desire to no longer be shackled to the frustrations of my fear or the pains of my past. A discovered fortitude that pushes a wand of learning, growing, and freeing myself from that which once bound me to angst, agony, and despair, from that which made me a stranger to hope, love, and life. A fortitude that allows me to shake off the coat of battery and brokenness and heal.
With that, we close out, guys. I want to say thank you guys again for coming down.